Hello everybody and welcome back to this tutorial, and what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a look at how we can add values to our variables. Now we already saw some of the examples in the previous video as we actually try to concat different strings. We use those string 1, string 2 and string 3 variables, but right now we're going to take a look at more examples of this stuff. So first of all, open up your idle. I will open it up right here, and to actually give a value to a certain variable we use an equal sign. So basically just simply equal will give a value to a certain variable. Now the variable you can call anything you want. In just a few seconds or moments we are going to discuss how you can actually name variables. There are different types of names that you can use and there are different types of names that you can't use. Of course, I will discuss all of them, but for now on, let's just name a variable named a. Now a can have a value of 5, and that is how you simply just put a value into a certain variable. In order to check out the value that is stored in the a, you can just type here a. It will print out what value it has. Let me just enlarge this. We can see a has value 5. You can also do something like this. So print, we use a print function, and in between the brackets you specify a. Now notice that right now, once I'm using a print function, I'm not really using a double or single quotes in order to define a. That is because a is variable and not a string, and I can simply just put it in between the brackets without the single quotes and it will print the value of a. Now let's actually add a value of b to be equal to 7, for example. Doesn't even matter, it can be anything we want. We can now manipulate these variables such as a plus b. It will give us a result of 12. A minus b. It will give us a result of minus 2. We can also do something like this. For example, print, and in between the brackets a times b. Oops. And we can see we get the result of 35, which is 5 times 7. So this is just simply using, instead of the actual values, you want to use the actual variable itself. Now variables can also be strings. It doesn't have to be a number, as we saw in the previous video. If we c equals and then a certain string between these single quotes, for example just like this, string, and if you just type here c, it will print out the string, which is just simply specified between the brackets as a string. Now you can also concat two different variables which have to be the same type, so you can't really add the string variable with a string variable. You can only add number with number, or pardon me, the string variable with the number. You can't really do that. You can only add number with number and string with string. So if you just type here d equals, this is, or let's do something like this, so dash dash or star, this is a string. You can use any characters you want between the single quotes, so this is a string. And if you just type here c plus actual d, we get the output of string, this is a string. So simple as that. Now let us now discuss what or how you can actually name your variables. Sorry everybody, my PC crashed, so I had to actually restart it. So right now let us continue from where we stopped. Let me open up my idle right here, and what we are going to do right now is talk briefly about the actual naming of the variables. Since you can't really name a variable anything you particularly want, there are certain rules that you need to follow while naming the variables. Now, for example, the most important thing is that you don't name the variables with a name of the actually already used word in Python. Now, what I mean by that is don't name a variable the same as some function that is in Python. For example, don't name a variable print. If you name it print, basically it will mess up with the actual print command. So I tested it out. If you just check out right here, print equals to, it won't print any error right here, but if I just try to print the print variable, it will not know what the actual variable, what the function is, and it will say integer object is not callable, because right now it is referring to the print as the actual integer number and not the function that is pre-built in the actual Python 3 itself. So even if you, for example, right now set some variable a to be equal to 5 and wanted to print that a variable, it will still not work, because right now the print function doesn't even exist anymore. It is set to be equal to 2. Therefore, the print function cannot be used anymore to print the statement to the screen. So let me just restart this and open the next one. And you can see right now, if you don't really mess up with the print function, you can simply just print a and it will work as usual. So that is the most important thing, but right now let us go to the rules of naming the variables. First of all, let us talk about what are the correct variable names. So, for example, let's say we want to create a variable called variable. This would be a normal or basically a correct variable name, so you can use smaller character word as long as it is not used in Python 3, as I said, and you can set it to be equal to 3 and you can just print variable and you can see it will work. You can also use multiple words, such as, for example, variable 1 equals to 5, and if you want to print variable 1, it is still a legit name and it will still work, as it does belong to the actual rules that we are going to cover right now. If you want to separate these two words, you can do that, but you can only do that by specifying the underscore between those two words. Such, for example, if you want to name it variable underscore 1 equals 6, you can do that, and you can also print it. Underscore 1, it will work. One more important thing is that the variable name can start with the dash. Now, it cannot start with a number or with a character or special character such as apostrophe and so on, but however, it can start with a dash. So you can just type it -1 equals 3 and you can print -1. It will print it out to the screen as it is a valid variable name. The usual capital letters can also be used, such as, for example, string equals hello world, print string. Though not many people really use this, but you can use a capital letter if you want to. If you want to interact your variable name with numbers, you can do that by adding the actual number to the end of the string. So, for example, string 2 equals, for example, hi. And you can print string 2. So these are all valid names for the actual variables. As we can see, we can add numbers to the end of the string. We can also print the string in capital, or not the string, the variable can be actually capital name. The variable can also start with the dash at the beginning of the actual variable name. It can have a dash to separate those two words. Now, of course, you do not need to use it to separate words. You can separate any letter if you want to with dash, but the important thing is that the dash is not something that can be used. Also, it can come in the lower letters and also multiple words, doesn't even matter. Now, let's talk about some of the things that you can't really do with the variables, such as, for example, you can't name a variable like this. So variable, not dash, this is underscore, and this is dash. You cannot name it variable dash 1. As you can see, name 1 is not defined. Even if you try to set a value to it, variable dash 1 equals to 3, it will say can't assign to operator, because this dash sign is basically referring to as a minus, which we use in this abstraction. Therefore, we get this error right here. So this is an invalid variable name. Also, of course, you cannot name it like this. So you can't really name a variable with two separate words. You need to have something in between, and then something is usually the underscore, as we saw right here, because then the Python 3 interpreter doesn't really know this 3 to put it either in the variable or either in the 1, because it is referring to this as two different variables. Therefore, it only prints out the 1 to be the invalid syntax. If you, for example, deleted this one, this would be a valid variable name. One more thing, the variable name can't start with a number, so 5 string equals 3 is an invalid variable name. You cannot start a variable name with an actual number. So that is another thing to take a note of. And also, the variables can't really be numbers, which is normal because you are actually adding a value to a variable. If you, for example, type here 23 equals 5, you cannot store a value of 5 into 23. Python interpreter doesn't really know how to do that. It says right here, can't assign to literal, because 23 is already a value, so therefore we cannot really use it as a variable name. So let me just say it once again. Also, you can use the characters such as the the percent sign, the hash, wherever the hash is on the keyboard, the $sign. Basically, all of those signs shouldn't be used in the variable names, or not shouldn't be. They can be used in the variable names, as well as the special characters such as apostrophe. So that would be about it for the variable names. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.